Judge Andrew Napolitano, John Stossel, Greg Gutfeld, and a man-packed party panel. What more could a girl want? Well, maybe a 15-pound baby, a world-class ass, and for Kanye to leave the country. But don't worry, we'll have all that a little later on in the show. Strap on your goggles. It's raining men. It's the Independents. Hi there, I'm Kennedy, along with Reason Magazine editor-in-chief, the man who puts pencil to paper and tells people what to think. His name is Matt Welch, and that pen means business. Camille Foster is also with us from Free Think Media. Together, we are the Independents. We have a nose for truth and don't adhere to any sticky partisan nonsense, especially when it smells like Gouda. Well, with us tonight for the very first time, earning his wings of independency, it's Greg Gutfeld, decorated best-selling author and host of The Five and Red Eye. Greg is the kind of person who exudes warmth and kindness as he eviscerates you with his wit and steely intuition, and I think, unbeknownst to him, he's a secret libertarian, or at least an independent. Welcome to the Independents.
It's great to be here. Congratulations on your amazing show.
Well, thank you. Congratulations on your amazing success.
Oh, no, congratulations on you first.
And thank you for wearing the blue V-neck sweater.
I'm trying to, the way Camille is trying to bring back the cardigan tie combination.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to bring back the kind of like, I don't know, the 1970s, the My Three Sons look, which didn't end well for any of them. But I'm trying to bring it back.
Yeah, it's like my 2.5 sons now after the lobotomy.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, really. Yes.
Well, Greg, welcome and thank you. And are you, in fact, an independent or libertarian or both?
I was a registered, okay, just for the exact phrase, I was an independent until I changed.
And I don't care about party affiliation. I don't care how you're registered with the county, but
then,
in your heart, in your corazon.
Then forget that story. Yes, I am an independent because I don't like having to check each box of beliefs, because I find those people boring. There was a Penn Jillette, once he had this rule of thumb on people. If you know two things about a person and you can predict the third one, you don't want to be around that person. So, for example, if they smoke pot, listen to the Dead, but they're radical capitalists, that's a good person. But if you're vegetarian, you work for Greenpeace, and you volunteered for Obama, stay away. So it's the idea that you can't, it's not being unpredictable for the sake of being unpredictable. It's just looking at issues rather than affiliations.
But and it's also what the predictability says about you, because you're not necessarily living authentically, I think. You're doing what you think other people want you to do. And who wants to be around someone who's just a shell of a person?
And that, you know what I've noticed, I call it the bouncer syndrome, which is, and it happens to newbies in any kind of group, whether it's conservatives or liberals or libertarians. It's that you're not conservative enough.
Yeah, I don't like the litmus test. I agree.
Yeah, and so they're bouncers. They're bouncers. They just they go, you know what? They'll call you a rhino because there's one thing you disagree with them, or you're not a libertarian if you actually think the NSA is doing a good job. It's like, you know what? Screw you. I don't like clubs with velvet ropes, so I don't want to be around you.
Yeah, and I don't like when people just cut you out because of one thing you say or believe.
Which you tried to do to me here on a nightly basis. I'm just kidding. But you were from Berkeley, right? You went to high school in Berkeley, so you were surrounded by Berkeley people. You live in Manhattan now. You're surrounded by Manhattan people. What would happen to you if you moved to like Omaha or
Orange
Houston
County
or Orange County or something?
It's a good question. I grew up actually in San Mateo, which is a suburb of San Francisco Peninsula area.
San Mateo.
Yes, it's quite big. Oh, by the way, I went to high school with Barry Bonds, who was a jerk. And
was he juicing in high school?
What?
Was he juicing in high school?
No, he was really skinny, but he had a big head.
See, pumpkin head.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go. He used to sit behind me in Spanish class. I've told this story many times, but he's a year older than me, and he used to kick my chair to get the answers from my tests. So he was cheating back then. His brother Ricky was much nicer. He was my age, and his dad kind of coached here and there on the teams. I apologize for talking about the Bonds. So anyway, to your question, you're asking me, did I become a conservative?
No, like I think
you're right.
You like to punch hippies a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You need the contrast in order to feel fully.
I said this at a speech at a Reason thing with years ago. I said I became a conservative after being around liberals, and I became a libertarian after being around conservatives. And the reason is both have a sense of moralism that can be really irritating. And it's the difference between neighborly caring and fake global caring. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that imposed, projected.
Yeah.
You are obligated to feel this way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's and it's probably, in my opinion, because maybe I'm biased, more evident among the liberal side than there is conservatives. And in conservatives, it often takes place in religious ways.
Yeah.
Like, I will pray for you, you atheist, which I get. I
love that one,
I usually
though.
get that. It's so funny.
Love the sinner, hate the sin.
Yeah. It's like, I will pray for you. I go, that's not a nice thing to say. Unless you really do want to pray for me, then that's good. But saying it in that kind of manner.
Praying at you.
Yeah, they're praying at me.
It's condescending. Yeah,
It is
no,
condescending.
it's aggressive prayer. All right, well, the winds of change are wafting through the New York air like granddad after 4 bowls of 5-alarm chili. Why is every big government liberal so dead set on using oppression as a tool for social change? In New York City, an elderly man was beaten by police for jaywalking, part of the mayor's zero vision policy. It's actually called Vision Zero, but it really does have zero vision to combat elderly jaywalkers,
right?
I think.
Yeah, I could safely come out and say I'm against beating up elderly Asian men.
That's a strong stand, Greg. Can you?
I mean, unless there's a website where elderly men go to get beaten up, then I'm for that. I am for that. But
Perhaps there's a party involving citrus.
Exactly. But if I don't understand the citrus joke.
That's okay. It's okay.
Okay. But no, it's. Sometimes I'm a big supporter of the police. Every now and then they make a mistake, and this clearly was probably a mistake.
Do you know one of the best things?
Boy, was
about
that wishy-washy. I'm even embarrassed.
No, but
I know exactly
it's
what
the
you said.
idea that we need to save pedestrians' lives by issuing jaywalking tickets.
Yeah.
That's just like we need to save, poor people's lives by making sure they can't drink big gulps. Like, living in New York is so shocking for me as a Californian because New York was supposed to be all tough and badass. And we have all these ridiculous.
Yeah, but the face-off with big government laws between New York and California, it's a little ridiculous because in California, bartenders now have to wear
gloves.
Rubber gloves.
Yes, which, by the way, I happen to like because I'm into the whole glove thing. But it's all about.
also-
It's the mandated glove.
It's mandated glove. People believe that you should be able to outlaw or ban something because there's a risk to it. And I said this a couple of days ago that you'd have to ban snowboarding and skydiving, and you'd have to ban construction work.
And driving.
Yeah, driving. You have to ban everything. Because there's an element of risk in everything we do.
Okay, so if you're obese, it puts you at risk for dying sooner and developing heart disease and diabetes. But if you're obese in New York City and you get hit by a car or a cab, you survive. That's what the research showed, that obese people are actually insulated from the deadly injuries that most jaywalkers get. So skinny jaywalkers more likely to die in New York.
There was also a story about a famous mobster who was shot like 13 times or 9 times and he survived because he was fat. He was had his own little bullet catcher. He was like, he was like, the guys were just shooting at him, and it was like one went there, and he's just like, going, I can't feel it. So there is a benefit to being obese. If let's say you're stuck on a deserted island, your plane crashes, you're gonna outlive everybody unless they eat you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It would be, that might be a little sinewy, or not sinewy, it'd be chewy, just chewy fat.
I don't know. I think this is going to be our A block for the 5.
Well, you got it. You should text Dana now.
Yes, I will.
All right, Greg Gutfeld, we'll see you always on the 5 and Red Eye. Thanks for coming by.
Can I ask you what that story is about the big butt you're doing?
Yeah, you haven't seen Booty Girl?
Yes, I have, but I was afraid to do it. But if you're going to do it, then I'm going to do it.
No, Booty Girl has,
it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
See, this is why you need more women on your show. I mean, in addition to Andy, is because we will show you how science has proven that having a big butt is better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that story tonight on Red Eye.
Very
Is that
good.
Dr. Mix-a-Lot that proved that having a big butt is better?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
he's got the
amazing.
prescription, and the booty will cure you. All right, thanks again.
My pleasure.
The 5, weeknights on Fox News Channel. Hi, and Red Eye, also on Fox News Channel at 3 a.m. Eastern. All right, from my sparkling cockles and beyond, Judge Napolitano is back, and he's fired up about Snowden, and that's coming up next a little later. Oh, no, next we're going to have the panel, the judges later. This is so great. They're going to tackle Target, Obamacare, and college sex assault. Stay here. Hi there, welcome back to The Independence. We are not hostile to you at all. And let's meet our multicultural party panel. It's comedian Tom Shillhue and Kevin Williamson of the National Review. Those two things rhyme, and we're right on time. All right, well, welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You should borrow his beard. You look like Shel Silverstein. The Giving Tree.
Really.
A little bit. From Where the Sidewalk Ends, the picture from Where the Sidewalk Ends. That's a compliment, by the way. I might be the biggest Shel Silverstein fan in the room. Target is the thinking man's Walmart. They employ 361,000 people, but their part-timers are about to be spit out of luck. They're losing the company health insurance in order to comply with Obamacare, the employer mandates. Those who were supposed to get a boost from Obamacare are getting booted. Is Obamacare screwing more people out of jobs and insurance? Now, I know you have something to say about this. Go ahead. Boom!
Well, you know, it's this crazy economic theory that if you raise the price of something, people want to buy less of it. I mean, shocking and appalling as that may be. The real problem in the long term is we're creating essentially a price premium on full-time employees, which is great if you're a college graduate or a highly skilled person, but if you're at the other end of the job market...
Which is most people, right?
Which is, well, most people working at Target, probably. Or, yeah, but, you know, the lower half of the skills and education set, then it's going to be much more difficult to get a full-time job. You're creating all sorts of incentives for part-time work.
Have we seen data on that yet so far with Obamacare? I mean, that was one of the big pre-critiques, is that we're going to create a nation of 29-hour-a-week workers. But has there been any kind of good data?
I mean, Target won't even say how many part-time employees they have. They'll tell you how many employees they have, but all they'll say is, well, our number of part-time employees fluctuates. So it's just natural that if you have to provide insurance or if you get penalized $3,000 per worker, if you don't give them full-time
I fully
employees.
expect it to happen. I was just wondering
I think
if
you'll probably have to get a couple of years in before you see really good data
Yeah, because
on it.
2015 is really...
Yeah. I mean, right now everything's anecdotal, but it sucks if it's your anecdote.
That's true, and it sucks if it's your business.
Yeah.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Kennedy.
Do you love Target?
I do love Target. I used to work in a store, and I don't know. I know Kevin's really smart. I had trouble following what he was saying about the facts and figures. Sometimes I get a little bit lost when we talk about economics.
I wish he had a chart with him.
Well, I'm a kind
Or a
of
sack of apples.
I do. I need charts, but I just think common sense. I'm coming from like the working man's angle.
Right.
I used to work in a store.
Look at your outfit. That is so
My
blue
hands
collar.
aren't going to callous themselves.
No, I used to. They actually said, I got my nails done one time, and the woman said to this Russian woman, she said, "Oh, you know, work hard." I guess I don't.
That is an interesting New Jersey accent.
Yeah, exactly. That's not very good Russian. But I worked in a men's clothing store, and if I had worked 29 hours, you basically got everything you needed out of me. I was not going to continue folding sport coats for that last 11 hours. So I think that if stores like Target should cut everyone to 29 hours because they basically, the rest of it is just people walking back and forth.
No, if you've ever worked retail, it's really, really difficult to keep your spirits up when you're doing the same thing over and over again. The good thing about Target is they have a lot of stuff, so you can go to different areas, so you keep busy. I worked in a knife store.
Oh, yeah.
In a sparsely populated mall at 9 at night.
Wasn't that the Beverly Center?
No one goes to the Beverly Center at 9 at night.
No one goes there at 9 in the morning. That place is an empty tomb. It's awful.
I love the Beverly Center, and I'd like to issue an apology on behalf of the independents. The president is serious about sex assault, and he's putting together an advisory board to combat rape and such horrible things on college campuses. He says it's a national epidemic, and while there is no doubt these things are horrific, is it anything more than a distraction for him? Why is this his new pet topic? And how will his inherent magic snuff out the scourge of sexual assault on campus?
The administration has already been active in this in ways that haven't necessarily been good for justice or freedom of speech or anything like that. They issued a letter, I think it was the University of Montana last year, talking about how they can reduce for campus penalties, right? So if I go to UC Santa Barbara and I'm accused of sexual assault of some sort, they encouraged universities to just have a preponderance of the evidence when they make their judgments about whether someone should be kicked off.
So guilty until proven innocent.
There have been cases of people who've been cleared by local police departments who are nonetheless kicked out of schools and given restraining orders.
It's a lower threshold, and it's scary. I mean, you know, it diminishes the seriousness of rape and sex assault. And that's the thing that scares me, because if you're claiming that bad things happen at this lower threshold, then, you know, you get girls who are crying wolf, and that's bad for everyone.
Yeah, a more general observation, though, is this interest in having a government that is doing absolutely everything I know we'll be talking about health care on this program at some later date. But
probably
we've certainly
Friday.
seen multiple administrations, both the Bush administration, the Clinton administration before them, try to tackle things like preventable medical errors. For example, they have these very expensive programs. They trot out these banners and talk about how we'll fix this problem. And these problems get infinitely worse in many cases. And all we do is spend money.
I think these actually fall under the dual umbrella ABS, which is anything but Obamacare, anything but Snowden, because the president just wants to get people talking about anything but those two things.
And really, it's the best
Kevin,
case scenario
hi.
for him because, Republicans will always sort of angrily oppose anything the president does. And the best thing you can do is get Republicans talking about rape. Because if anything in the last 4 or 5 years has shown that they just, should really never, ever let the word come out of their mouths unless you're talking about, being in favor of capital punishment for. This sort of, string of idiotic Republican candidates saying just sort of crazy and indefensible
Well, you
things
can't
about
get
it.
pregnant unless you're trying to.
Yeah, that's
science.
that sort of thing. So, from the president's point of view, it's kind of a win-win. And if you look at his actual agenda, it's mostly, giving lots of money to various kinds of public sector employees, which he's always happy to do anyway.
Sector. I don't even know her. All right, Judge Andrew Napolitano has some answers. He's coming up next. The weekend political gum flapping that has us all very fiery and desperate on Snowden, the NSA, and freedom. Freedom. Stay here. Hi there, welcome back to The Independent, where we welcome back author, jurist, mentor, and super guru, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Why did I say Napolitano. I was thinking of Apollonia from Prince.
Super guru?
Yeah,
That's a
super
new
guru.
one.
Yeah, the
Thank
super
you.
guru. Well, that's how we think of it. He's also a Fox's senior judicial analyst, which makes him amazing. All right, the heads of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees made the Sunday morning rounds tying Edward Snowden to Russia or some other formal nation state. They're saying he didn't act alone. Someone or some group put him up to the leaking. Is there any evidence of this?
Well, there's no evidence of this that's been revealed, and it's highly inappropriate for members of the government to make allegations like this without revealing any evidence to substantiate it. But these two members of Congress have been the cheerleaders for the NSA from the beginning of their tenure in their respective positions, each as chair of the Intelligence Committee, Senator Feinstein in the Senate and Congressman Rogers in the House. And in their minds, the NSA can do no wrong, and they each have said that Edward Snowden is a traitor, or words to that effect. They each have very, very little credibility in this area because they are so blindly in favor of what the NSA does. I'll tell you a story about Congressman Rogers, who's a former FBI agent. He was interrogating General Keith Alexander, the head of the NSA. And this was right after the revelations came back. Question, Congressman Rogers. General Alexander, does the NSA have the ability to capture the content of phone calls? Answer, General Alexander. No, sir. We don't have that authority. Now, in a courtroom, a judge would say, wait a minute. Answer the question that was
authority and
put to
ability
you.
are...
Unless the judge was in cahoots with the witness to mislead the tribunal before which the testimony was given, which is exactly what Congressman Rogers was trying to do. Congressman Rogers must think that we would all fall for that stunt. Many people in the media did. Many people on the House committee over which he was the chair did. A lot of us did not.
Okay, now here's my thing. If you have Feinstein and Rogers out there saying that a guy who worked for the NSA was really a spy, then how crappy is the NSA if they employed a spy? I mean, all they've done since the Snowden leaks is talk about how he's a dropout, how he's a good-for-nothing, idiot. Why would you employ someone like that? Why would you give someone access to this kind of information?
They won't answer a question like that. They also can't address this. Snowden has said, because he was fearful of being kidnapped by the CIA or American intelligence forces wherever he went, he didn't bring any of this with him. He didn't bring it to Hong Kong, and he didn't bring it to Moscow. So it is so simplistic to think that because he's in Moscow, the Russians have what he has. What he has is not physically with him. It is elsewhere, either in the United States or in Great Britain, and timed to be released. This is not anything new to me. I don't have any personal knowledge of this, but this is what he has said. He would be insane First of all, it's 1.7 million pages of documents. You might be able to get that into one of those keys, but he would be insane to bring that key with him.
Yeah.
Judge, there was a piece in the New Republic, the sort of flagship for progressive liberalism in this country, that was titled, "Would you feel differently about Snowden, Greenwald, and Assange if you knew what they really thought?" And inside, some of the things that we learned that they really thought is that Ron Paul is an okay guy, that the gold standard might happen, and that sometimes Glenn Greenwald works with Cato Institute. What do you see out there, like the reaction to Snowden, that kind of hysterical reaction and guilt by association? What does that say about the people who are propagating it, whether they're in government or whether they're in journalism?
They are fans of big government, and they are losing this battle because Snowden is gaining more and more popularity. He is immensely popular with young people and on college campuses today. You know this. And the more we learn about this, the more we are indebted to him. I will tell you a very brief story. Right in this very studio, I had a tete-a-tete with Ray Kelly, the former police commissioner, over civil liberties. And as soon as the camera went off, he said, I love when we disagree. And I certainly disagree that the NSA should be reined in. But I'm glad that Snowden revealed it. It's just way too much for us not to know it. I run the biggest police department in the country, and I didn't know about this. So he is gaining popularity in corners that one would least expect.
And with the American people, too. I mean,
Yes.
they're certainly more curious, and, you know, the tide of public opinion is flowing in his favor.
Yes.
And Judge Nat, what would you say to folks who've said Snowden should come back to the United States and face justice? What obligation does he have to obey a law that may in fact be unjust? He has uncovered the fact that the United States government was apparently lying about what they were actually doing.
I think it will be impossible for him to get a fair trial. The Espionage Act of 1917, which was written by Woodrow Wilson to suppress free speech, has rarely been used, and that is since World War I, and that is the instrument under which he's been indicted. Since then, the Congress has enacted legislation that will make it impossible for him to confront the evidence against him and discuss it openly in a jury, that will require all kinds of secrecy between him and his lawyer, things his lawyer can learn that he can't, and things that the judge and the jury and the prosecution can learn that he and his lawyer cannot. It will be impossible for him to get a fair trial. Nor do I expect that any president in the present age would have the courage to pardon him.
All right. Thank you very much, Judge.
Pleasure,
We'll
guys.
see you again. Many questions. Many
Pleasure.
questions. All right.
Pleasure.
very
I
good.
would pardon him, but I don't expect to be president.
Don't rule anything out.
Seriously.
Work on that.
It's an interesting election season. We'll see how the midterms go. All right, boobs, babies, and big booties. It's all coming up on the topical storm. And later, the most famous facial hair since Burt Reynolds waltzes into the independence ether. Stay here for Stossel. This is the Independence, where if we don't highlight bulbous backsides, we've done a great disservice to freedom. I'm not wrong on this. Topic number one. A woman had a 2-foot, 15-pound human living inside of her. And for the record, my children did not reach these dimensions until their first birthdays. A California woman really had a 15-pound, 2-ounce baby. That's not a fat baby. That's a turkey. I've actually got an artist rendering of what the child looked like. Can you see that?
Delivered by cesarean, because I'm sure plenty of people are concerned about this woman's well-being.
And by well-being, you mean her? Yeah, no, she's...
Something like that.
Yeah.
The best was the quote from the
It was
mother.
an emergency C-section
Yes.
because they detected little movement and
Yeah.
were worried. So
It's
Mo-
15
mother and
pounds.
baby.
How can anything move at
extracted.
15
It actually
pounds in
took
that?
4 surgeons to get the baby out. It was so heavy.
Yes,
The
mother and
mother's-
baby are okay.
Yeah.
The mother,
Sure, that's what
the
everyone's
mother
concerned
said, I thought that the machine was broken, which I think is could mean anything.
Meaning the scale or...
Could mean
Whatever.
anything. Yes.
Or the great machine in the sky. All right, topic number 2. Kanye West, he's at it again. He says Madonna is the greatest visual music artist of all time. He's not wrong on that, by the way. And he also claims he was a child art prodigy. He says, quote, so the joke I've actually played on everyone is that the entire time I've actually been a fine artist. I just make sonic paintings that have led me to become whatever people think of me, or when you say Kanye West. Is that brilliant or insane?
It's a little unintelligible, just a little bit. But this is the thing. I mean, all of our rock stars are kind of crazy.
Jesus loves you. That's so funny.
we tolerate their craziness. And for whatever reason, we're ridiculing Kanye. The other headline here is that he's threatening to leave our shores because of all of the racism in this country. I just think we need to give the man a little bit of room.
Where's he going to go?
He
France?
is a genius.
Yeah, well,
I have no idea.
He's
but
a
I don't want him to
genius.
leave.
He still hasn't gotten over
Camille
George
Foster,
W.
by the
Bush.
way, loves Kanye West so much. He had his photograph taken with him.
No, someone captured this incredible moment. You can see me in the foreground. That is Jesus' arm in the background. I'm stretching over.
Oh wait,
and we're
is that,
shaking
are you
hands.
the bald
Neither of our
guy
lives
on
was the same.
Right in the middle of the screen?
No. Those are my broad, strong shoulders. You can see that in the foreground. And that is Jesus in front of me. If only you could see his face, because it's clear that his whole life has changed forever. His bodyguard, as you can tell from the photo, didn't even care what was going on.
He's worried about
He's like, this is safe.
Like
Camille is good people.
He was visiting you backstage?
Yeah, or something like
He's
that.
signaling across.
Yeah.
All right, we know Katy Perry prayed for boobies, but she also believes in aliens. She has a barely hidden lust for the president and promises when they get closer, she's going to ask him about the LGMs. Do you believe in aliens? I know you believe in Katy Perry. You're a Katy cat, right?
What are the LGMs?
Little green men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the term they use in science.
Okay. The Bill Clinton, I have this on great authority, which means it's a friend of mine who's really, really into the aliens, and I couldn't find it on Google when I was just looking for it for the last hour. But he says that when Bill Clinton first became president, he sat down with all of the serious people, the top men, and one of the first questions he says, "All right, what's up with Area 51? Tell me about the aliens."
No, those are the three things you do. You ask about Area 51, you ask about the JFK file, and you ask about the bowling alley.
Yeah.
That's it.
He's
That's why you become president, by the way.
Didn't Obama get rid of the bowling alley not to cast
I don't know.
Are you
aspersions?
serious?
I think he might have replaced it with a basketball court, and I'm not even.
Wow, that's racist.
Yeah, that's racist.
That's racist. That's racist.
The Dominican thinks that's racist.
Wow. That's racist. The Dominican.
Yeah, well, okay.
Earlier in the show, boy.
Jeez,
Jeez, it never ends.
Wow, Camille. Oh, now it's racist.
I'm gonna walk off
Can't
the
talk
set.
about it on the race show. Well, speaking of obsessions, Camille and I are obsessed with Jen Selter. She's also known as Booty Girl. It is scientifically documented that women with large bottoms and small waists conceive more easily. They have lower incidence of heart disease and diabetes, and I commend her. She is only famous for her ass, but she also just signed a big deal with a sports marketing firm.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it an obsession. Wouldn't call it that at all.
No, it's fantastic.
respect.
It
Healthy
has
respect.
actually encouraged me to modify my training program.
She's an incredible athlete, wonderful human being, I'm sure.
About 15 years ago, I remember, or 10
2
years ago.
hours a day she works on the booty.
Salon.com had
2 million Instagram followers.
an article about Jennifer Lopez's ethnic butt and whether that's challenging our preconceived notions in America. So we've come a long way now in the last 10 years from worrying anxiously in liberal rags about whether a big butt makes us nervous to
and
this
J-Lo
woman is signing.
tried to hide it for a few years, but
Americans have
now.
always liked robust women.
Look at that.
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe was a very shapely woman as well.
Those
I mean, that's
triceps.
incredible.
I mean, that's what you guys are looking
That is
at, right?
incredible.
Yeah.
The strength necessary to pull off a move like that. Look at those forearms. Incredible.
She's like an octopus.
Yeah.
She just climb anything.
Exceptional talent. America.
Keep it together, Camille.
I'm not going to
My mother-in-law
make
is
note of any
watching.
stereotypes right now. All right. Coming up in the show a little later on, we've got a segment called 2 Minutes Hate, where we read 120 seconds of your scathing missives. That means hate mail, dum-dum. And next, John Stossel brings some heat to the myths and realities of global warming. And there's Stossel now! Woo!
All dramatic weather is our fault.
Terrible tornadoes in Oklahoma. Horrible.
We know that this is because of the burning of fossil fuels.
Carbon could cost us the planet.
Makes me want to ask Al Gore about that, but where is he?
Is Al at one of his other houses?
Whether Gore's right about global warming didn't matter. You already pay for his remedy.
They're declaring war truly on jobs.
Who will win this war?
God, I hope we do. That's a clip from Stossel's new show, Chill Out, which airs in this time slot tomorrow night. By the way, we are The Independents. Welcome back. Not it. And joining us right now in studio, it's John Stossel. Welcome back, John.
Thank you.
So what did you find on your journey into global warming? But before I ask you that, I want you to know the UN just released a report saying that if we don't combat global warming very soon, they say within 15 years or less, we are hosed. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, it's possible if it really is a disaster and it's like the entitlements crisis, it's going to be much harder to address later on. Maybe there's a tipping point with global warming. But the argument is so confused. People say, Stossel, you're a global warming denier. But what do people mean by believing in global warming? To me, it's 4 questions. Is the globe warming? Well, yeah. Climate changes. Always has, always will. We're in a warming trend. Is man increasing it? Is it man's fault? Most scientists say man plays a part. How much, no one knows. Maybe it'll be a lot. There'll be a tipping point. We're putting a lot of carbon dioxide in the air. But is that a crisis? We don't know that. The Earth may adjust. It may create more water vapor, which may slow warming. The models that predict the crisis have been proven wrong again and again, but they still stick to them and say this could happen. And then lastly, if we don't do something, says this report, we're in trouble. There's nothing we can do at this point that will make any difference, even if America did everything the greenies want us to do, 100%. And if they did it in China and India, too, which they won't.
Yeah, I'd say everyone in China drove a Tesla or rode a bicycle. What would that do?
Nothing. I mean, they admit it would make a fraction of difference.
So what are you worried about in terms of what people are proposing or what might actually happen policy-wise, let's say, in this country?
It's already happened. We're hurting poor people. We spend $20 billion a year on subsidies for renewable energy that doesn't work very well. We're going broke, but we're sucking money away for these gimmicks. That hurts.
I mean, hurting businesses in California with cap and trade, the Global Warming Solutions Act, it really is going to hurt California business.
Yeah, and the subsidies...
But I'm okay with that because we need models of failure, and your state could be it. And
yeah, you say that because you don't live there.
Yeah, exactly.
You're awful.
And the regulation and the subsidies, whether they work or not, are incredibly sticky. They almost never, ever, ever go away. Occasionally they get repealed. But I've got to tell you, I don't necessarily know all of the science. That's for sure. I am not indifferent to the problem of global warming. And as a limited government guy, I am, however, at least open to the possibility that our current property rights regime is not calibrated in the appropriate way. I mean, prior to the EPA, you did have a system of common law that helped you deal with upstream pollution or something like that. And one wonders if we had a more organic system of creating laws to govern things like that, if we might not be in a better position to actually manage things like air pollution, for example. It's a possibility.
It's just hard to imagine who is going to own the air and are you going to sue each other over this. But when we use the word pollution, let's be clear. Like, I'm glad we had pollution rules for sewage treatment. I jumped in the Hudson recently to make the point that, thank goodness for government, the air and water are cleaner. The air used to be filled with particulates and sulfur dioxide.
Do you think that's just government?
Yeah, I mean, clean
they forced people to put scrub. The business isn't going to put a scrubber. Most will not put a scrubber in just to be a good guy. But there's a difference between carbon dioxide. We exhale that. That's not a pollutant
and
that
plants
hurts
breathe
people.
that in.
Right. It's not like dirt, which is what we needed to get rid of.
All right, dirt. Dirty.
Dirt in the air.
Dirty Birdies over here, and I commend you for your fine work, and we will be watching the show.
Great.
John, you're the best one I know to chill out. Thank you. All right, that's tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern on Fox Business Network, so please watch it. Coming up next, we will reassemble the party panel to talk military robots, pulling out too soon in Afghanistan, and your mom. It's The Independents. Welcome back to The Independents. We're good. Thanks. Back with our panel. They are here. Tom, Kevin, goodness. A new report says the Army is planning on replacing soldiers with robots. Thousands of deadly, impenetrable robots. They say they aren't Terminators. They're just logistical helpers. Oh, right. Come on now. Is this the beginning of a new style of warfare, or is it the AI takeover? I'm a little terrified by all this. Tom Shillhue.
Why? Why would you be terrified?
Because I'm worried we're going to build these incredible demon robots that are going to take over the human race.
Well, no. Did you read in the report? It actually said there are no plans to deploy autonomous robots with lethal firepower. That's going to set us all at ease, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel better now. Yeah.
I don't even want autonomous robots writing tickets.
They should have Clapper and Alexander just explaining what the robots might do, although they're not in charge of the army, but maybe they are.
I'm totally in favor of like mechanizing and robotizing and droning the army, since that way Camille doesn't have to get killed in the line of battle and all that
Why
kind
is
of stuff.
Camille going?
I don't understand.
I'm not sure either, but
that is also strange.
he's young.
I also find that
He's young and he's in
young.
shape, unlike
That's
other
true.
people
I am in
around-
shape. I have no need for men's spanks
around here. But no, the artificial intelligence is the thing. As soon as they start learning from themselves and getting better,
Yeah.
if you marry that with force,
Then they
that's
can
seriously-
reprogram themselves and like, oh, wait, our off button disabled. Kevin, is this a good idea?
In my ideal world, all of our wars are fought by robots against other robots, which leaves the rest of us with time to
Like
do
technological chess?
productive things and trade and build things and do useful things. And they can just go to blow each other up, and that would be fine. We actually sort of already have a partly robot army anyway, when you think about with the unmanned aerial vehicles, which are doing work that used to be done by ground battalions. So, I mean, there's a certain extent that's already happening.
Yeah, and whatever happens.
If people are upset by drones, though, aren't they going to be really unsettled by, I mean, actual, like, robot-y, what are the things,
Yes.
tauntauns?
Yeah.
Something
we're
like
less afraid of walking or flying robots than walking robots.
Well,
I mean, I don't understand
people
why.
are always afraid of new military technology.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine when you first started using mortars, you were freaking people out. There was this sense that it was totally unfair. But it doesn't really matter how exotic the technology is. In this particular country, we still ought to have a situation where the Congress is making decisions about whether or not we go to war, and the president isn't unilaterally deciding whether or not he's going to kill people with drones or deploy
Maybe
detachments
Google has been making
of Marines or
robots for
whatever
the
else.
army.
Well, you know, there's a
I
reason
think they're
that
actually
people are-
kind of doing that.
There's a good reason that people are always afraid of new military technology, which is because it's almost always uniformly horrific.
All right, well, while we're chatting up the military, the Pentagon has told the president we should leave 10,000 troops in Afghanistan when the international combat mission there ends. And if we don't, then we should take our ball and go home and pull everyone out. So should we get the hell out? And is Afghanistan still our problem?
You know, I want us to get out because I don't think it is our problem, even though we've exacerbated the problem. But in backing us getting out, you have to realize that most or all of the gains that we've had with the military will be wiped out and terrible things would happen. Retreat is awful. Camille was just watching a documentary at Sundance about the retreat after Vietnam, and it was just a horrible mess. So that's what happens in the aftermath of being involved in these wars. It's ugliness, and you have to face that up.
Tom, when do you decide to pull out?
I mean, it is. I feel like whenever you pull out, it is going to be a disaster. So it's like you know. Why is
anyone laughing?
People giggle when I have the best of intentions.
Your
but
military analysis is spot on.
but
I'm
how did it happen that Obama ran when he was campaigning to be elected president? He ran on, let's get out of Iraq and go back into Afghanistan. And everyone was like, yeah, that's great. That was the good war. How did he do that? How did he convince us that we were supposed? Yes. Like, that was never a good idea. Why was that the good war? Why was it?
Because it was a different war, right? It wasn't the war that we are fighting right now, and we wanted to end that war or stop thinking about it.
It wasn't a fake WMD war. It's like, oh no, the actual bad guys are there. We can go get the actual bad guys instead of these possibly invented weapons.
Well, but that war was essentially, but it wasn't really, was it? I mean, when you look at what have we gained from Afghanistan? In the end, if you do an analysis, wouldn't you say that that Iraq turned out better than Afghanistan?
Is it? Well, it's starting from a better position, which says something really awful about Afghanistan. I mean, Afghanistan is the most miserable country in the world, basically, in 1991 or 1996.
And continues to be, right?
Continues to be. It's going to be for a while.
All right, very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Kevin and Tom, thanks for being here on the panel for your first and best time.
Such fun.
Yeah, really. Look what you got. Sex assault in Afghanistan.
Yes,
Only
robots.
the gems for you. Robots. Ooh. Thank you very much. All right. Next, your hate mail, like this gem. This has got to be the worst show on Fox. And I watch a lot of Fox. Aw, thanks, Dad. More next. Here on The Independence, we love your correspondence, even when it's filled with vitriol and seething resentment. We've got a bag of your nasty letters. This is 2 Minutes Hate, read by Bernie Macsmith. He's one of the human resources people here at Fox. Go ahead, Bernie.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and read the first one that you covered earlier because there's an addendum to it. This has got to be the worst show on Fox, and I watch a lot of Fox. Kennedy is the worst host. Her voice has no definition. I try to listen to her, and after a few minutes, all I hear is a droning hum.
Okay.
All right, number 2, the subject is the Three Stooges, presumably referring to the three of you. You guys are a joke, exclamation mark. I am a dedicated Fox News junkie, but Fox Business News has sullied its programming by validating you clowns. All you need are the big red noses. Care of Ken Rouge.
Thanks.
Not a bad idea.
No, it's really not.
All right, the next one comes from Twitter. Mike Cowan 424. Your show stinks. It's not even libertarian. You never talk about the economy, the 17 trillion debt, and oppressive taxes.
We never do that.
Not yet.
Number 4, who thought up this joke? And that's from PJ Seattle.
Sorry, PJ. Is that Pearl Jam?
Number 5, Kennedy is great. Other panel members are wonky and boring.
Hey, wait a second.
That's just true. I mean, that's just a fact.
Thank you, Don Morgan. That's right.
I don't like the glasses, and don't let your mother dress you for tomorrow's show.
Who is that directed at?
It doesn't say here. It does say that it's from Party on Butterbean.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
The next one also pertains to apparel. It says, did Kennedy steal those earrings from Cleopatra's tomb?
Isn't that a compliment? Don't understand.
I think Ron, presumably Paul, might be the only guy Kennedy has never interrupted.
That's true.
Yeah.
Including co-hosts.
Number 9, no puppets. Why this silly? Why don't people take libertarians seriously?
Jim Henson is an American hero.
And finally, number 10, instead of a lightning round, have the communist pick a single topic and beat him until he dies.
Now, that is just unacceptable.
That's next time.
That's
Next
ridiculous.
time for Jesse.
Oh. Stossel, his mustache fell off. I'm appalled. I'm too embarrassed by the non-libertarian independence. The end. Programming note, this Friday at 9 and midnight, we're going to have a special show called Healthcare on Life Support. Dr. Ron Paul will be our guest. So please watch. We'll make your Friday night worthwhile. Keep those cards and letters coming. How will we ever deepen our love if we don't share our feelings? For Matt Welch and Camille Foster, I'm Kennedy. I'm a little hurt, but I still love you. Good night, sweet scribe.